Let's talk about victim mentality. This is our trending topic for the week, what people
Mhm.
are kind of talking about online,
Mhm.
searching for. So I just want to start with the basics. What is a victim mentality?
Yeah, sure. So when I think about victim mentality, I think there's a couple of major things kind of at work in that. One of them is kind of this sense of entitlement of being owed something, right? That something should come to me that's not coming to me, essentially, right? And then there's also this place of passivity. In other words, bad things are happening to me and I have no control over them, if that makes sense, right? So that's the idea of a victim mentality. So bad things are happening and I'm helpless to be able to do anything about it. So that's kind of how I would define it. So those two pieces kind of put together: bad things are happening, but they shouldn't be happening. Good things should be happening to me, but only bad things are happening to me and I can't do anything about it. So that's kind of how I would like piece that apart and kind of define that.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I think of like having a victim mentality, I think of, whenever I get into that headspace of like I'm a victim, I'm, being hurt and no one cares. And it feels
Mhm.
like very like you're in a hole a little bit and you're kind of digging it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, but you don't realize it. Like really the only thing that you feel like somebody dug that hole and you fell into it, but really, you may have actually played a part in that.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we address it? If we notice that in ourselves or if other people notice that in us, how do we
Mhm.
fix this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always, especially like as a therapist, right? First, I always want to start with like self-compassion, right? Because if I'm noticing this in myself, um, oftentimes, there may already be a sense of like guilt and shame that is coming up there anyways. Like, why does this keep happening to me? There must be something wrong with me, right? And so first I just want to start with that piece of compassion of like understanding that oftentimes these things were modeled for us in our childhood, right? No one advocated for us whenever we were a kid, so we didn't get to internalize that advocacy for self, right? That assertiveness, that assertive voice. Um, and then, the other, when I think about this self compassion piece too, I also think that this oftentimes has happened because life has been really, really hard and no one was there to help us deal with it. And so we've kind of sunk into this hole as we called it, right? And it didn't just happen overnight. Oftentimes these things happen because bad, like legitimately awful things have happened and we kind of got like pounded into a place of defeat. And so when we learn that when our words don't matter, that we're not heard, we're not seen, we go into that kind of victim mentality because it's like you give up trying. It's that defeat of what's the point, right? What's the point of trying? And so I just want to start with that piece because like yes, like life has probably been very hard. And you probably have good reason to kind of feel sorry for yourself, right? Um, yeah, so let's start with that. And then the second thing I would say is that like once you've given that compassion to yourself, I would say the next place to think about is like, okay, the truth is, right? The truth is that I do have power to be able to affect my life. And so when I say that I have power, what I mean by that is like I can find my voice. Oftentimes, people with a victim mentality know what their needs are, but they don't know how to assert themselves to get that need met, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing is knowing what I need. So, like, it can be like, woe is me, this is my circumstance. Woe is me, I got fired. Woe is me, whatever the situation is, right? So, that victim mentality, first you need to think about what is the need, right? Because we can stay in that place of like complaining um, and kind of grumbling for a long time. But what do I need to get out of that place? And so I think that's the first thing is really to identify that. What do I need? And then the second thing is, how can I meet that need for myself? Right. And not, when I say meet that need for myself, I don't mean like you have to go it alone. I mean, like, what resources do I have? Who do I have around me? What do I have around me? How can I use the resources that I have around me to be able to get myself out of that situation? With someone's help, sure, but we've got to play a role in that. Right. And so that sense of, I can assert myself, I can assert my voice, right? So this is my need. I can assert myself to meet my own need. And don't give up, because there are always going to be obstacles between ourselves and our goals. Always going to be obstacles, right? And barriers in between that. And it's oftentimes a person who kind of has that victim mentality, well, like the first time they feel that obstacle, the first time they feel that barrier, they'll kind of give up, right? But I think, and it's okay to just like take a step back and be like, dang, like that didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, you know? But get back up, right? Dust yourself up and get back up. Give yourself that self compassion. Man, that did not go the way that I wanted it to. Let me try something else. Let me try another angle. And I even talk about this in the article that I wrote. If the anger is not working, try something else, right? It's the same thing between us and our goals, right? If we want something, how can we empower ourselves? How can we find our intrinsic power, our intrinsic voice to be able to meet that need? And again, can you recruit people to help you? Absolutely. But yeah, like, it is possible. It is possible for you to affect change in your situation.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the hard things about victim mentality is you kind of feel like you're in it alone, and you kind of isolate yourself as, I am the victim. Nobody else is. Nobody else is going to experience this or understand it the way that I do. How do you get past that and actually go to somebody without fear of them rejecting you, or fear of continuing to be victimized or anything like that? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I think what's really important, I'm thinking of, different client situations that kind of come to mind as you say that. And I think that um, we have to have a filter, and we have to be able to judge who is safe. Because if we continue to put ourselves at the mercy and put ourselves in a vulnerable position of people who have taken advantage of us, if they have done it before, don't let them do it again. We have to be able to determine safety with a person, right? So if a person has proven to be trustworthy, if they're if they're a person of integrity, right? Like that they will do what they say that they'll do. um, Oftentimes you can like see this in their life. Are they good parents? Are they true to their word? Are they able to keep a job, right? Just little simple things that you can kind of see the fruit, to be able to see, is this a safe person? And so I think that we have to open up, like I talked about earlier, like we have to open up our inner world, right? Like we are not meant to go through life by ourselves. And so I think that finding a safe person and being able to talk about things with them is so important. Um, yeah, it's so important, because when we do that to the wrong people, we open ourselves up to be victimized again, right? And then, but we can't hold on to it by ourselves. It's too heavy, right? Scripture talks about bearing one another's burdens for a reason. This thing is too heavy to carry by yourself. And so I would just encourage, everyone out there, that if you find yourself just kind of in whatever that pit looks like, right? Whatever that kind of sadness and guilt and shame and just disappointment and defeat, right? If that kind of like describes your life, I just encourage you to find someone to talk to about it, because just talking about it really does alleviate a lot. And I'm so thankful for MCO and like our Strong Family Scholarship. That for our clients that are able to get really good counseling at a really affordable rate. Let us help you. If you don't have a safe person in your life outside of MCO, come see us, because it is important just to be able to open up your world and talk about what's happening inside for you.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it feels like the easiest thing to do
Mhm,
in that space is to open up to somebody who maybe doesn't know you, or who
mhm,
hasn't, gotten to know you quite yet, like a
mhm,
counselor or something
mhm.
like that. So, yeah, but we are always just ready, open arms, like to talk with people and love on people in the ways that they need. So thank
Mhm.
you, Tara, just for that answer. So intentional, so good. And I just love your compassion for people, and that, you know, you validate people's emotions and what people feel and think. And I think that that is just beyond important, as people seek healing.